He told the federal judge he was a free man who did not consent to her authority. She gave him 17 years. The sovereign citizen movement has convinced thousands that secret legal codes can make them immune to prosecution. Here is what actually happens when these theories meet reality. The sovereign citizen movement emerged in the 1970s from anti-government tax protesters. But here is where it gets strange. They did not just refuse to pay taxes. They created an entire alternate legal universe. Their core belief centers on something called the strawman theory. When you were born, they claim, the government created a secret corporation in your name. This corporation, spelled in all capital letters on your birth certificate, supposedly holds millions in hidden treasury bonds. Your flesh and blood self is separate from this corporate fiction. And this is where I need you to pay attention. Believers think that by filing the right paperwork, they can separate themselves from government authority entirely. Courts have heard these arguments thousands of times. Not once has it worked. But what keeps drawing people into this movement? The internet supercharged everything. YouTube gurus began selling courses promising legal invincibility. For $200, you could learn the secret phrases that supposedly make police powerless. One popular theory involves the gold fringe on courtroom flags. According to sovereign citizens, this fringe transforms the court into an admiralty tribunal with no jurisdiction over land-dwelling humans. If you are learning something new, that like button helps more than you know. Federal judges have addressed this argument in writing. It is legally meaningless. The fringe is decorative, period. Another theory claims that if you do not answer to your legal name spelled in capitals, the court cannot prosecute you. Wesley Snipes tried variations of these arguments against tax evasion charges. He received 3 years in federal prison. But the consequences extend far beyond celebrities. But let me put this in perspective. These are not just harmless eccentrics annoying traffic court judges. In 2014, Gerard and Amanda Miller attended a sovereign citizen meetup in Nevada before murdering 2 Las Vegas police officers. They draped a Gadsden flag over one victim's body. The FBI now classifies sovereign citizen extremists as a domestic terrorism threat. Their database contains over 300,000 names. And then it got worse. Traffic stops have become flashpoints. Officers approach vehicles displaying homemade license plates reading private property or traveling not driving. The drivers record themselves demanding to know if the officer has a contract with them. Some of these encounters end peacefully with arrests. Others have turned deadly. What nobody expected was how the legal system would begin specifically targeting these tactics. Federal prosecutors developed a specific strategy. They began adding charges for filing fraudulent documents. Every fake lien, every bogus UCC filing, every fraudulent bond became a separate federal offense. Think about that for a second. The very paperwork sovereign citizens believe protects them became additional criminal counts. Peter Eugene Hendrickson spent years promoting a tax theory claiming wages are not income. He wrote a book. He had followers. The IRS disagreed. He was convicted of filing false tax returns and received nearly 3 years. His wife received 18 months for the same scheme. But here is where it gets truly bizarre. Even facing these sentences, many believers remain convinced. They think the judge was corrupted. The system was rigged. Their paperwork was filed incorrectly. Never that the theory itself was fundamentally flawed. But that is not even the worst part. In 2016, armed sovereign citizens occupied the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge in Oregon for 41 days. They believed federal land management was unconstitutional. Ammon Bundy led the occupation, convinced he was making a righteous stand. Here is what actually happened. One occupier was shot and killed during an arrest. 26 others faced federal conspiracy charges. Sentences ranged from probation to 6 years in prison. Subscribe if you want to see how this ends. The occupiers argued they were exercising constitutional rights. Prosecutors proved they conspired to prevent federal employees from doing their jobs through intimidation and force. The jury heard sovereign citizen rhetoric for weeks. Then they convicted. And this brings us to the most delusional defendant who ever stood in federal court. His name was David Russell Merland. In 2010, he declared himself King of the United States. He was not joking. Merland believed that by filing certain documents with the Secretary of State, he had legally claimed sovereignty over the entire nation. He began issuing orders to federal agencies. He demanded the military swear allegiance to him. Tell me in the comments, did you see this coming? When authorities ignored his proclamations, he escalated. He filed millions of dollars in fraudulent liens against public officials. He threatened federal judges. He claimed the power to execute traitors. The FBI arrested him in 2012. At trial, he represented himself. He argued the court had no jurisdiction over a sovereign king. He received over 5 years in federal prison. The judge noted his complete disconnection from legal reality. We are almost at the moment everything connects. The sovereign citizen movement persists because it offers something powerful. Control. When life feels chaotic, when the system seems rigged against you, discovering secret knowledge that puts you above the rules is intoxicating. These believers are not stupid. Many are intelligent people who felt failed by traditional institutions. YouTube algorithms kept feeding them deeper into the rabbit hole. Community forums validated their theories. Gurus profited from their desperation. And this is why this matters for everyone watching. The same psychological patterns that create sovereign citizens create other conspiracy movements. The desire for hidden truth. The distrust of authority. The community of believers. Understanding how courts systematically dismantle these theories reveals how legal systems actually function. Evidence matters. Precedent matters. Declarations of sovereignty do not. Here is what sovereign citizens will never admit. Every single case has ended the same way. Conviction. Sentencing. Prison. From Wesley Snipes to David Merland to the Malheur occupiers, the pattern never breaks. Federal judges have written hundreds of opinions explaining exactly why these theories fail. The law does not care if you consent to it. That gold fringe changes nothing. Your birth certificate is not a secret bond. You cannot separate yourself from your strawman. These are not loopholes. They are fantasies. And pursuing them costs real years of